or not. It's okay. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. So it's just taking a minute. But while that's going on, yes, we went to all over Jacksonville. We went to, was it Mike Goldhead's State Park? We went to Jacksonville Beach, and then one of my personal favorites is Camp Chawani, which is this beautiful nature center. It's enormous. We went kayaking there. Again, I got several shades of red, but it was a good taste. So welcome, everyone. For those of y'all who don't know me, my name is Jennifer Baker, and I am a Forex trader within Super EZ as well as a couple of other groups as well. So tonight, this is kind of really super tailored to the beginner. It's super tailored to just the most simple way to trade reversals and counter trend trades, right? That's what the system does, and it does it exceptionally well. So if you're brand new, please put it in the chat. And if you have questions about certain pairs or maybe trades that you're in, put it in the chat now versus waiting to the last 10 minutes. Now is a really good time. Or on the YouTube, I'm pretty sure Miss Donna is on here and she can manage the YouTube and hopefully be able to kind of see any comments that are on there right now. So, but either way, welcome. We do obviously have to do our disclaimer that says, I am not your financial advisor. I am not your accountant. I am not giving you any legal or investment advice. I'm just another person on the other end of the screen who happened to get good at trading, right? And really, all it comes down to is controlling your emotions and some good rules. So, all we're going to do is kind of take a look around at some of the pairs using simplicity. We've had some really heavy trending moves. So, now might be a good time to look for those reversals. It doesn't mean we're going to take the entry tonight, it just means we're going to be on the lookout for this tonight. So, John, I see your question for what the YouTube is. I think Miss Donna can post the link for the YouTube group in the chat if she will, if she's available. I'll make sure she's co-host so she can do that. Let me go to the participants. Hopefully I don't sneeze in y'all's ear. Let's see. I know I saw her pretty picture. Maybe not. She was also out and about today. So it's spring. We're all trying to get out as much as possible. So needless to say, we'll do our best to kind of look at all the screens that we can. If nothing else, John, just message me on Telegram and I'll get it to you as soon as I can, or message me in whatever group you found me on and I will get it to you as soon as I can. So there's your disclaimer. I will real quick go over this because it's really one of those mind-blowing things that no one wants to talk about. No one wants to talk about what's really possible. There's all these, phrases and idioms or what have you that says if I gave you, a couple $1,000,000 today, or if I just doubled a penny every day for 30 days, what would you take? And most people obviously they think, hey, I'll take 20 grand today. I'll take, 100 grand today, not knowing what this skill set can do for you over time. So most of us start here and we're failing. We get knocked back down, we get knocked back down, get knocked back down. But the whole concept is as you gain this skill set, guys, as you're willing to go through all of the massive, not so fun ups and downs, this is what's possible. I mean, that's insane, right? So do the math yourself. It's kind of really interesting. I think this is going to be something I go to quite often, just to kind of show you guys what's possible. Now, remember, we don't have to get to this number. Most of us, we hit 20 grand. That's plenty. Take that out, pay off your car, catch up on your bills, have no debt. Cool. We don't have to get to six figures. Some of you guys, 5, 10 grand, that takes care of your lifestyle for 2 months. So take it out. If you don't have any debt, put some away for the future. Use some to take care of your mother. Use some to maybe do an investment property or other kind of streams of passive income, hopefully, and go on with your day. We don't have to get to these huge elusive numbers to feel like a success, because for most of us, six figures a year part-time from home is a darn good income. Six figures a year working 2 to 3 hours, 2 days a week is a darn good income. Like, where else are you going to get that in the world? Better yet, with no bosses, no selling anything, no chasing people down. So it's a really good idea for those of y'all who don't know. I will say that compounding seems to be my strength. Not to say that it always has to go to that seven figure as we talk about all the time. It's just about kind of leveling up maybe your baby amount of money into a larger amount of money. It doesn't have to be, again, to the end of these spreadsheets. It can just be to your next level of your credit card debt. It can just be to your next down payment on your next house. It can just be to, let's take my kids to Costa Rica and we're going to have some fun with, my really good friend, and we're going to do all kinds of amazing things. So it doesn't have to be enormous. It can just be compounding small amounts of money to large amounts of money. So if y'all haven't seen this, pretty simple. Have a training plan. They need to have rules for exit, entry, pip target, protection, trail, stop loss, how many entries you'll be in at once. It needs to be really, really well written. And most importantly, it needs to be followed. because even if I wrote down all the rules, which I have, and they're in all the groups you guys are in, you have to actually follow them, which means more than, hey, this week it feels good. It means follow them on the weeks it feels bad. It means follow them on the weeks where nothing's happening and somebody else posts how they just made a whole bunch of money. It means still follow your rules on that week too. That's how you're going to be able to take these small amounts of money in 12 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever. So that's that. Any comments, questions on any of that stuff before we move to the rest? Are there any certain pairs? Thank you very much, Tarek, for posting that for John. Thank you. Anybody have any certain pairs that they want to
You can.
USD CAD, USD. So let's take a look at those two. USD. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go over to our other screen. I'm going to stop this share. Did anybody else do anything amazing? I know Derek got out of the house today. Anybody else do something kind of cool? Maybe something fun? Because you're killing me with all that
Just finished walking.
You just finished what?
Walking.
Okay, not bad. Where'd you take a walk to?
We walked 2 miles. My legs hurt.
You should have went hiking with me.
I hope you're 80 years old because you sound awful young to be walking 2 miles for your legs to hurt.
My wife said we got to lose weight.
He's young. He's young.
Who that, Nick?
Everyone's about to snitch on you, let me tell you. So
me and Nick stay in the same town. So.
Oh, you're really in trouble now. Nick, is he under 50?
You're damn right.
All right, you on blast.
Well, in this case, listen, this is family. That means the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now we're here for you. So we're going to take a walk with you. We're going to do all that stuff, but sometimes it also means we're going to pick on you. So now that you've officially been called out, y'all better get walking to where 2 miles don't hurt so bad.
Get him, girl. Get him.
I had sand in every crevice today, guys. We were on some trails in the back. I mean, and of course I'm wearing these scrunchy pants that kind of scrunch. Not a wise idea. Plus it's wet. Plus it's hot. And we're hiking and there's bugs all over us. And we only did, I don't know, maybe 2 miles, maybe not even because we had kids with us. But I would trade your 2 miles any day, I promise, compared to mine today. I promise. But then we hung out and got some sun in by the lake. So, okay, before we go over simplicity, I am going to say for those of y'all who are in our morning classes and y'all do scalping with us and you hang out in the mornings, this morning was an awesome call. A lot of those trades played out perfectly. I did get some DMs in terms of German 30, so I hope that you guys are kind of in that trade or protected that trade. We talked about maybe NAS falling, right? We said we had to wait for it to give us the impulse. It gave us the impulse. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it up on simplicity, right? I'm going to stay true to what we're working on. Okay. Ooh, did I do that? Maybe. Now we're going to delete that. So let's go to objects. I never know who drew this because sometimes in the morning we get lots of people drawing, but if it's on there, that must have been me. I'm going to have to take ownership. We never really broke above it. That's why we don't do it that way either. But anyways, so let's go to a baby time frame for a second. And here we are. Now is 100, 15-minute time frame. We're getting a sell signal. So we have yet to kind of break down yet. We have yet to make a lower low versus simplicity. But for those of y'all who know how to trade, right, all we were waiting for was that impulse. We got the impulse. We got the correction, and now we're here. So we have some room to kind of come down and retest. My target on NAS, for those of y'all who are looking, bare minimum, let's make this blue. And remember, there's no guarantees. So you can go to a baby time frame. You can look for a better entry. I'm already in that trade, so it's a little bit different for me. But having said that, that's a lot of pips. So please take a look at that. If you're looking for the slightly more confirmed move, that's 600-ish pips. Not a bad way to be. So please consider that. Okay. If you want to take that later, wait for it to break, you're going to have your stop loss is going to quadruple, right? So kind of take that with a grain of salt. You have to know that right now we're going to pull up. So going to the 5-minute time frame and waiting for the RSI, for example, to come back up and retest the 50, waiting for the RSI to kind of come back up and give us any other of an indication, or just wait for price to come up and retouch the 50. Even on the 5-minute time frame, guys, that's still not a bad trade. So 5-minute time frame, we get our sell signal here. It worked out beautifully. Simplicity for the win right there, because notice how simplicity didn't call this sell until after the impulse. That's kind of nice. Not that it always happens, but that happened perfectly this time. So Now we're here. We broke past the 250 coming back. I want it to retest before you guys take an entry. So we're already too low. We don't sell at the bottom. We don't buy at the bottom either. We want to be with the trend at least. So just want to go over that for all of my index trading peeps. And I do want to at least honor German 30 real quick, because we talked about that this morning of what was potentially happening. We knew that it was kind of just playing around. We caught a baby amount, at least enough to break even on this pair. Nothing that's, wasn't amazing. Caught thousands pips on US 30, but this one wasn't amazing. It kind of stayed hanging out. But now German 30, 5-minute time frame, we're getting that kind of sell off. We've retested, and now we're sitting around here. So again, safe kind of entry. My target bare minimum, this isn't my actual target, but not a bad way to be, even just coming down to retest structure. And if y'all were in class this morning, y'all know quite a few different entries, either whether we got the breakout to the buy or whether we got the breakout to the sell. So this, again, I want to at least touch on these indices because, well, these are fun to trade. They're dangerous, but they're fun. They're scary, but they're fun. So keep in mind, we're getting rejection. We're kind of following a trend line, right? And we've got wicks. So this is still not a guaranteed trade, but risk to reward ratio, if your stop loss is above any of these kind of high points, above your super easy support and resistance, not a bad trade to be in, not at all. So I'll go to the 15-minute time frame and take a look. So we're just now getting that. I'm going to draw a vertical line. If you wanted the safest simplicity entry on the 15-minute time frame for German 30, you're waiting for a candle to close below this point right here. Let's see if I can't be fancy and use my Scott skills. There we go. I'll make this yellow. Trading is getting easier and easier, guys, for those y'all who are hanging out. But let's see. This is our simplicity signal. We got it here. Right now we're buying up. Before you take an entry, before you trust the signal, what you're waiting on is you're waiting for the retest to have completed, obviously, or you're waiting for the next few candles to make a lower low from when you got the signal. So if this is your signal, we're not just going to take it because we want it. We're not just going to take it all willy-nilly. We're going to wait until where price is going in the right direction. We're going to wait until it is confirmed. So had to at least touch base on those two because, well, they're my babies and they're a whole stinking bunch of fun. So any questions on those two indices? Please don't trade them if y'all don't have accounts heavy enough for those. This is not going to trade like a Forex pair. A 0.01 on this pair is going to be worth the same as it's worth a lot compared to a Forex pair. Every broker's a little different. I would dare say it's worth the standard on some and a 0.1 on others, but different brokers trade differently. So I don't want to give you an exact answer. Joseph said, I took an entry on the 5-minute just now and got a quick 300 pips, baby. Good job. That's awesome. On that sell, you had to have bought it up if you were buying, if you just got it right now, because this candle's moving up. On NAS. Let's go look. Oh, it was a sell. She did it at that last candle then, for sure. But it's not, guys, this is a really, really simple system. Now, I wouldn't necessarily use this simplicity on the higher time frames with an index because you're going to get your butt handed to you quite often. Too big of moves to kind of go for if your account is not definitely greater than multiple 5 figures. It's not cost effective to do so. But if you do have the ability, you can definitely go to another 5-minute time frame pretty well. So, but good job, Joseph. Good job. Mike said he had brunch at speed kart racing. That sounds like a heck of a fun lunch. I want to go speed kart racing and have food, yummy food. And speed kart or like bumper cars? Because there's a difference.
Do you trade SPX 500?
I don't. So we can take a look at it together real quick before I go to the Forex pairs. I don't trade this pair because look, so pay attention. This is German 30. We just saw what those numbers are. And this is a third as fast as German 30. And German 30 is one of the slower of the 3 indices we trade. So having said that, gentleman I work with, I don't think he's on tonight. He's packing, but he's brilliant, right? He always gives an awesome perspective. I don't know how else to say that. But
He's on.
an often differing perspective, but an awesome perspective. So he would say, this is going to be a little slower. It's going to potentially be a little safer. You can have a little bit more of a lot size on this, So just know this trades differently, and I'm not going to dare talk to you about lot sizes and pips on it because I don't trade it, but we can take a look at it. Does that sound fair?
That's cool. So you would trade this like on, you would trade the indices on like the 5 minute, you saying?
I think this indice I would definitely be on the 15. So German 30 is the slower of the three indices I trade. I trade that almost exclusively on the 15. And this one being slower than German 30, I would keep this also probably at the 15 personally. Like if I were to trade this pair, I don't trade it, but you can still trade it super well depending on how your rules management and all that other stuff goes. So okay, but to analyze it real quick, S&P 500 daily time frame, all-time highs. We kind of knew that with most of the indices that we're looking at across the board. That's what we're seeing. A unique situation, if you're asking me, for why these are so expensive and why they're just going up, even with the values of the companies, the economy, et cetera, so forth. So beyond fundamentals, which as you guys know, I don't do fundamentals. So not including any fundamentals. So we have to insert that because it is relevant for those people who do study that and do know that this is literally a basket of 500 of, the companies, right? This is a basket of 500 different companies. So fundamentals are still important on these indices and Forex pairs too, but maybe more so or less, who knows? But let's go off technical analysis alone, daily time frame. We do have this kind of double top forming. You could argue that we have divergence. It's not formed yet, but you can argue that it's there. I'm going to zoom in. We're going to take a look. We already have some dojis. You've got vectoring kind of happening. I wouldn't necessarily call this vectoring just based off of the size of the looks, but other people would consider that because you have 3 in a row, actually more so. So what are we going to do with that? Daily time frame, we know that US 30 kind of had to push down a little bit. We know NAS still had some room to go up, but right now we've got a pullback coming first. So knowing that some of these other indices has handed some back, no, we're not going to trade this as a correlated pair. We don't trade correlations. We try really hard not to. But we still wanted to look at the overall time frame to kind of see the overall picture, to kind of see what's happening. So let's go down to a more moderate time frame and kind of see what kind of candles are forming on the 1 hour time frame. We're getting a lot of consolidation. We're almost sitting flat. It's like we could draw a box around this, right? We continue to make higher highs. I'm going to minimize this RSI. We don't use it too often anyhow. But we could draw a box if you can see that. So if we drew a thinner box, actually, let me do that. I'm going to get my annotate out. I think that would be beneficial. So not a perfect box. I would even draw it a little bit different. It's not going to let me on this. Let me try that again. One more time with feeling. One more time with feeling. There we go. We could argue this is kind of our spring out and this is kind of our spring down. So we're still just in consolidation. We're consolidating right now. Our most recent candle on the 1 hour time frame. It's 36 minutes left. We've already wicking low, coming right back in this zone. So not a super amazing safe trade to take, at least for me with the way I trade. I would want the confirmed kind of move out of this box or the confirmed move out of this box, right? We want to be out of consolidation for a trend trader. Now that's just on the higher time frame kind of analysis because we do want to do our due diligence. And since I don't trade this pair regularly, I had to at least take a look. But now let's keep going down to see kind of what we're getting. My guesstimate is we would have an arrow kind of popping up. We've got one on the 15-minute, which we kind of knew would be there. Impulse move. We're failing to make higher highs. Potential formation happening. We could argue that's a potential head and shoulders. It's not formed yet or complete yet, but it's definitely visually there. I'm going to draw a vertical line on this one, this signal, kind of see where we're at. We got it on this candle. You'll notice from the second we got this signal, we have yet to kind of continue in the right direction yet. So we got the pullback after that. Now I'm going to go down to the 5-minute and see where we got that signal. Wait for it to catch up. The two MAs on this chart, Mr. Legacy, if I'm saying that correctly, are a 50 EMA, and I'm pretty sure this is a 250. 250, let's go to parameters, exponential. I thought it was exponential, but I wanted to check. This is definitely exponential. So those are the two MAs on this chart, just so you know. But now let's take a look, 5-minute time frame for S&P 500. We got that signal over here. We're going to go ahead and draw our line. we've already kind of that sell has already played out. And right now we gapped up at market open. We came back, already closed that gap. We definitely have a little bit more room to push before we continue in either direction. So I wouldn't call this as an entry right now. But again, in all fairness, I don't study this pair. I don't trade this pair. And if I'm going to trade an index, I really want to understand that index. I want to understand the way it moves, the way it functions, the way it breathes, the way it, pulls back. I want to have a reasonably good understanding. So for me, I don't see an entry because we have consolidation on the higher time frames, and because even on the lower time frames, 5 minute is kind of pushing up a little bit. We gapped up. That's where we got this arrow from. So this would almost be an invalid arrow. We've got our kind of continuation to the sell, impulse correction, just playing around. I mean, this wouldn't be a bad entry on the sell, but the gap up is telling us something. I don't love it. So you could read this a lot of ways. So for at least me, I don't see the entry. Or what time frame are you looking at specifically? To the lady who asked about this pair, are you looking to scalp it or swing it, or what are you looking for long term? What kind of entry are you looking for?
I'm just looking at it to scalp, if anything, not to hold it for a swing trade.
Okay, so Keisha, there we go. 15-minute time frame, we've got the entry, but we have yet to kind of continue in the right direction. And if I were to draw a trend line, like, so we're with, not that that was going to work. We knew that wasn't going to work. Hold on. Let's try that again. We turned it purple this morning, so that's why you're getting the purple trend line. This is not exactly accurate. Just keep in mind, no one uses these tools. Well, I don't use these tools on MT4. Just to kind of give you an idea, we've rejected off of this quite a few times, and that's where we're at right now. So think we're looking for a break of this trend and a retest. So you could argue that the break is kind of happening in here, and we've officially retested. So we broke out, we retested that zone, and now you're here. So do we have the room and the legs to maybe come down all the way in and around this zone? Let's take a look. Make that blue. Potentially, but this isn't a trade I would take. There's too many other things that are moving with a lot more confirmation, that have a lot more potential. Like if I were to pick any of the indices that I do know about, I won't fib when I say some of it's a bias. I'm definitely biased. But of your entries right now, I think NAS is a little bit of a safer bet, and so is German 30 than trying to look at this one. But that could also be based on my comfort. So it could definitely be. If we break this zone, okay, anywhere in this kind of hot box, right? If we break this area, oh, don't be silly. Let's try that again. If we break that area, we've got enough room to at least come down to our take profit. I'll make this yellow. If you're using like the scalping strategy, if you're getting like a 5 or 15-minute arrow, you've got the room to kind of come down because you're retesting the 50 so closely. The odds of getting a re-entry arrow are probably pretty high. I'd have to look at it on the actual strategy to tell you exactly, but the odds are you will get an entry arrow if you're using that scalping strategy. So you could take the entry slightly higher. Otherwise, if we do break this area, just kind of based off of simplicity, this gives you enough room even to your first take profit. If we continue to move in the right direction, you're looking at your next take profit anywhere in and around here, all the way to here. But will you guaranteeingly get this move? But you want it to be a lot more confirmed than what it is right now. That's 86 pips, not bad. 170, 250. Not a bad trade at all. It moves dynamically differently than some of the other indices. So does that help you see what I'm seeing a little bit?
Yeah, that totally does. Do you use the 250 as a first TP, or what do you use the 250 for? Or trend direction?
So I use my 50 for pretty much everything I do. It's kind of how I determine the trend. I look at my 50 no matter what template, what chart, what strategy, my 50 is always on there. The 250 is kind of the cross between, how the market makers use the 200. And from what any of y'all who know some of my other strategies, we're looking at multi-time frame kind of stuff. So the 250, depending on what time frame you're on, will give you, for example, if you're on the 1 minute, the 250 will give you the 5 minute 50. The 15 minute obviously is not going to be exactly the same because you're dividing that by 5 or multiplying it to 5, whatever. So this is just kind of giving me confirmation of the bigger time frame trend. That's what I'm using for. Now, moving averages in general are dynamic support and resistance. So they're literally just moving levels of support and resistance. I mean, and if you look at them like that, you can definitely use them as targets. But what I'm getting that take profit from is kind of looking to the left where prices stopped. If I change that to a line chart, notice how it kind of lines up. It takes a long time to be able to see things that way. But when I look at these candles, I'm looking for where the peaks would be, right? Where the peaks in this are going to be. I'm not looking for necessarily the high or the low, but the overall peaks of where price is kind of stopping. So we drew this based off of looking at the actual Japanese candlesticks, but my eyes are reasonably well versed at kind of seeing this area. So it doesn't have to be, everyone wants the exact price point because it makes them feel warm and fuzzy inside. But the reality is, take a look anywhere in here. Oh, sorry, that's my Apple products for you, ladies and gentlemen. Anywhere in here, you've got this peak that's a hard rejection area. Not so much here, a little one there. But this is definitely an area of interest. Let's just call it that. Let's not label it as everything has to happen right here. This is a life-changing area. Oh my gosh, if it hits this exact number, the whole world is this. No, this is just a zone. And rather than having to draw a box, which is more difficult to do on MT4 specifically, we draw a line to tell you anywhere in this area, give or take a couple of pips either direction. It doesn't have to be this exact, number. It's not always going to be that exact number. It's beautiful when it comes in that area and rejects, or comes in that area and reacts and goes down. But we're just looking for an area of interest. And you'll notice where this is at right here, the second TP that I drew. I'm not only using the Super EZ, what's it called again?
Support resistant dots is all I call them.
Yeah, I would call them that too. It has its own name. I just don't recall it today. We're going to call it the summer blues in my brain, but I don't recall exactly what it is. So these right here, the Super EZ resistance kind of area. And you'll notice again, looking to the left, it's just an area of interest. It's not a perfect place. There's probably a slightly better one, but I'm not going to wait until the very tip. That's too far. So I'm not going to go from here as one take profit and here, right? So if I'm going to look for 50% of this massive move, that's going to be right around in here. So that's where I've got my second take profit. And my third take profit, again, I'm not necessarily looking for this entire move. I'm looking for something a little bit closer, particularly on a pair that I'm unfamiliar with trading. And if I look to the left, you'll kind of see prices stopped here quite a few times. And that's enough for me. Go back to the candles and you'll see it a little bit more differently now. Now, when you look at it from a line chart versus candles. So that's how I see it personally. You can use whole numbers, you can use quarter points, you can use Fibonacci, or you can keep it way simple and just, look to the left for areas of interest. You're looking for approximate measured moves. You're going to know, like, if you're using any kind of management, which we use heavy management in our morning sessions, we know that our trade manager is going to knock us out at certain points anyways. That's going to be certain ATRs, but these are kind of the target areas that if you're not using a trade manager, you know that when you get in and around here, you're going to lock some of your profit. You're going to close some of your profit, or you're going to protect some of your trade. When you get to here, you're going to close some of your position. You're going to move your stop loss up or something, right? You're going to know that these are areas to either look out for either closing your trade, protecting your trade, or trimming profit off of your trade. So just a different way to see that overall. That makes sense.
That helped a lot. Thank you so much. And I love the 50 too. That's like, it's kind of hard for me to get away from it. And I guess just listening to you, I probably shouldn't.
No, well, you have to do what works. Like if you're withdrawing, if you can do something for a good 6 months and not quit, not alter it, not super alter it. Let me fix that a little. And the 50 is working, as in like you are either at least a break-even trader or you are withdrawing, because a break-even trader is not a bad place to be. In fact, it's the first step to become a successful trader, right? Because there's plenty of people who are not break-even traders. They're the blow your account, reload your account gambling traders. So a break-even trader is not bad. As long as you can get to a break-even trader using that 50, and you've practiced that for a good 6 months, I wouldn't get away from it, because I think it's a very useful tool. Very. So But okay, so let's go to the chat real quick. John says Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin. So listen, Linda, let's go to Bitcoin real quick. There are some Forex pairs we were going to look at too. Do I recommend swinging this? Like if you have an account that has enough money in it, okay? And I do mean enough money in it, as in, I think you would probably need more than $3,000. I mean, depending on the leverage of your broker, I'm going to say $2,000 to $3,000 at least. And you just want to buy this all the way up until it does hit 100,000 because you were that sure, by all means do so. Okay. But do I recommend holding this? It depends on who you are as a trader. So I'm going down. Do you recommend scalping or long term? So assuming you're not meaning long term as in like you're invested into the actual coin itself on one of the crypto wallets, right? I'm assuming you're not meaning that as one of the options for long term, right? So no, not that. Okay, so as long as we're talking about trading it only, so if you're going to swing trade this or if you're going to scalp this, it first off depends on your trading style, your management, and most importantly, your account size. So a lot of people, let's use real life. Let's use people I trust, that I adore, I think are amazing people, right? Meant no harm kind of people. We got to pull back somewhere in and around one of these candles from this peak. We pulled back, right? So somewhere in here, I'm going to try to zoom in. Simplicity is a bit in the way on this example, but we're going to use it because it's real life. So let's say that this pulled back. We've got all these vectors. Okay. We've got a lot of reason to think that this is going to buy right here, ignoring the simplicity signal, obviously. We have to ignore that for conversation purposes. But what happens? This goes against you. And if you're not careful and you don't know how this works or how big your lot size is, that is, okay, I'm about to say this number out loud, so bear with me, 86,154 pips. Now, mind you, it's not calculated the same as like a Forex or an index is. So it still calculates kind of closer to an 8,000 pip move than an 86,000 pip move. Again, depending on the broker that you're using, but still, let's go with 8,000. So an 8,000 pip move. Can your account handle an 8,000 pip drawdown? 8,000 pip pullback. So this is not the same. Your lot size doesn't equal the same. Your dollar for dollar doesn't equal the same as an index. That is a lot. It's very, 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 very different than trading other things. So are you able to watch this later? Yes, this is all recorded. Not even at a 0.01. Dina, yeah, at a fair enough. Dina said not even at a 0.01, y'all. So definitely no. You have to know what your account can handle. So you'll notice, obviously, this is a winning trade. In theory, this won a whole bunch. Same kind of concept, assuming you get somewhere in there. This paid off in spades. That's a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio. It's actually better than a 1-to-1 risk to reward in right, proper calculation. So it's not a bad trade per se. It happened to pull back. There's no control over this. Elon Musk says something on Twitter and the whole world goes crazy. Elon Musk says something on Twitter and this happens. So this is very, very volatile. Look at the size of this, even compared to US 30, which we consider to be an extremely volatile, instrument, right? This is worth almost twice as much already. So take that all with a grain of salt. If it was me and I don't know your account size, I don't know your trading style, and I don't know your appetite for risk, I would say, because you can't guarantee when the bottom will fall out or when this will shoot up until forever, and you're better off kind of scalping in and out of this. If you're going to hold any cryptocurrency coins, your best return on investment is not going to be putting 30 grand into Bitcoin, because you can game this out and most of y'all are capable of basic math. Even if Bitcoin does go all the way up to $120,000, and let's just say that's the case, first and foremost, it's probably not going to stay there forever. Secondly, here's the other, you don't know when you're going to have to get out, when to get back in. You don't know any of that stuff. So it's all very, very risky territory. But third, that's still only 100% increase. It's a 200% increase on your account. You basically will have doubled your account in terms of what the value of this coin is. So if you're going to go buy the coin itself, go buy some actual cryptos, some of the smaller coins, put a little bit in each, and 1 or 2 of them hits, some of them break even and the rest of them fail. You'll still have made thousands of percent return on investment versus 100 to 200% return on investment. So just looking at your dollar for dollar value there. But I hope that answers your question. What's the best way to trade it on Simplicity, and what strategy would you use? I would use Simplicity along with my scalping strategy if I were to do it. So Simplicity is amazing for reversals, but what about when it's trending? So this is Simplicity. Like, I'm not altering anything. I'm not changing anything. I'll close this out, and then we will take a quick look at some of the Forex pairs. But let's just go in real time, and we'll go back as long as my history will allow, just for kind of a quick second. This is choppy. It's ugly, and you're going to see the real life good and the real life bad, right? There are no guarantees. We get a buy here. This one obviously works out. Assuming you got in only when the candle was confirmed, you do pull back. You're kind of asked to pull that back. But with the right management, you're in profit. Notice how this tells you to buy here. So this is technically a loss. Your stop loss would have been, in theory, at structure. So not a horrible loss, but you do take a loss. And notice how this is not a sell that you take if you're only using Simplicity. So if you're only using Simplicity, you don't take this sell. So baby win, baby loss, this doesn't happen for you because you don't get an entry, right? If you were using, like, for example, my scalping strategy, like, that gives you certain entries, you could take this with the trend. Let's say you still took this as a loss. Let's go with that. It would also give you an entry for here, right? You would take this again. So that's going to help you take all of the moves. This right here, let's make sure I don't put my foot in my mouth. I don't see a buy that happened here. There's no evidence dot. So nothing, we don't get that buy. We don't really get any entries in that stuff. So I'm just going to keep going backwards. Again, no buy, no sell signal. So using a combination of like the Jenny's golden strategy and Simplicity would be ideal for any of these kind of fast moving pairs. Because notice how we're not getting an entry here. You need that entry. You need this entry to be successful at this. But still going, wow, this is going to get old. Hold on. We get a sell here. This one kind of is a fake out. So this one does fail. Not that it was technically wrong because it pulled back and then it would have given you a win, but you're not going to hold it that far because it broke structure. Once your trade breaks structure, it's no longer a valid trade. So you need to get up out of there. You can give it some room to wick in the spring, but not for multiple closed candles. Not the same thing. So no buy here, but this is a buy. So you would have won this, but depending on your management, this is how much you would have won. And this whole move, I'm going to zoom out, give you an idea. You won this much out of this. Because remember, I told you to sell here. We didn't get a re-entry here. So just some things to take a look at, Does that help you? I like the trend trade and don't care for the reversals. I like the trend trade too. That's kind of why I do exactly what I do. This is great, particularly when you can see the trend. So try using Simplicity with the trend and you'll still get super far. You can still do super well, but just take your time to know the trend. So know what's happening. This gives you a buy right above the 250, right? It's going to come down and retest. Take every buy that's with the trend. So once you understand trading, this is not as complex as we make it to be. This is rather simple. There's losses, but good management, it's amazing. And so this morning in class, we talked about some risk reward management stuff that's way even over my head. This stuff feels like Japanese to me because it's completely opposite of how I think. And not that I agree or disagree with all of it, but there's definitely a value there. So learning that however many ways it takes you to have good risk management, you can take most strategies and be incredibly successful with them, provided you're willing to stay the course long enough to tweak and to tone it as needed. So Keisha says, I like the trend change. Don't care for the reversals. I haven't lost a trade since the change. I can see the trend on the 4-hour and don't over leverage. Okay, Keisha, that's awesome. If you have 100% winning ratio right now, are you compounding that or are you just like steady trading? I got to ask because people hit ratios like that and then they don't compound and it's like, what? I'm just steady. I know. Well, it's time.
I'm just like, seriously, I'm at like 0.02, and I haven't really been like, because I've blown enough accounts. So I'm like, okay, yeah. So I've just been 0.02, and just kind of making sure that I really have it down, so, but I just been following the trend, and it's easy for me to see I don't have a whole bunch of pairs that I trade, so I, just kind of
Isn't
know
it
what's going on with those.
when you say, hey, look, I'm going to trade a handful of pairs and I'm going to do this one thing, it becomes much easier to manage, doesn't it?
Heck yeah. My life changed when I just stopped trying to chase a new strategy every week because I've done that.
Well, first off, that's like you have arrived where I wish everybody else would. Because once they get to there, I don't even care the strategy. It doesn't have to be mine. It doesn't have to be simplicity. It can be a plethora of things, but stick with it long enough, the love of God, to get good at it, because you will become a master at nothing if you keep bouncing around. There's a name for that in relationships, right? But yet we come to the charts and we expect to get away with doing the same thing. It's not okay. Like you have to stick with one. Like you can't go through 100 and then expect to have anything worthwhile. So.
Yeah, you mentioned on one of your replays that I listened to was like, do this one strategy for 50 trades. And I was like, okay, Keisha, like we're not gonna switch at all. We're just gonna do that one strategy, right? So your classes are gold. This is my first time ever being on it live, but I go and listen to your YouTube or whatever, and I was like, that's really, that matters. So thanks so much. I appreciate you.
Well, first off, I love you. Thank you. No, but I'm glad that they're helping. And I hope that you do have a batch of 50 trades. And honestly, the day you come up with, even if you bring 30 trades to me, Keisha, I will stay on here for a couple of hours. I'll probably get some coffee. I'm not going to lie, but we'll stay and we'll drag and drop each of them at the end of us going over those trades with you. So like if you could honestly stick with something for that 30 to 50 trades, I will go over them with you. I will say, okay, so here's, and I won't bombard you or vomit on you with 5,000 things you have to fix. I'll give you 2 or 3, max maybe 5, things in total to say, hey, if you tweak these things, you will be able to take whatever results you just had from those 50 trades and make this profitable. Like, is it going to make you $1 million? I don't know. But is it going to make you able to withdraw? Yes. Because most people who stick with something for 50 trades and they actively do that, they come and they say, holy cow, I'm 70% accurate. I had no idea. Holy cow, I netted X amount of pips profitable and I still only had 60% accuracy. But in this basket of trades, right, I still netted X amount of hundreds or thousands of pips, right? Like it's insane to see what you can do for yourself once you allow yourself to do it. So good job for sticking with something. That's awesome. Okay, guys. Hey, I don't want to go up anymore. We've got a couple people mentioning some pairs in the chat. So there is a lot setting up. I hope that answers your Bitcoin question a little bit, John. Just my overall short answer is scalp it. Like, don't be the silly person trying to hold this trade because they try to hold it through a drop and it drops out of nowhere. So, but Brandon said GBP JPY looks like a good setup. So 1 hour time frame, going to the 4 hour. Let's take a look. The price is slowing down. This is an enormous move. It has not been retested. Now, mind you, anything we do right now, so if we try to sell this today, this is definitely not a trending trade. This is a counter trend trade. So don't let me, the guy next door, any other YouTube guru, or anybody else say that, oh my gosh, this is a trend reversal. Right now, we have no proof of a trend reversal. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit, make it a little less ugly. Sorry for the vertigo. We have this kind of M formation. We've got the impulse a little bit. We broke lower. We are kind of starting to make lower lows, but we have yet to break below this point, right? We're still we have an impulse. We move up. We retest this area. And again, we're moving up. So we have not broken lower lows yet. This is still an uptrend. So as long as everybody is crystal clear on that, and there is no contradiction in that, we wanted to make sure we're super clear that this is a buying trend. So if we try to sell it, you need to know we're going against it. Brandon, you think it's setting up for a good sell? I got to ask. So we went over that. We do have an M formation. We did break the neckline. We're coming back up, kind of retesting some other areas. This is 10 minutes left on this 4 hour candle. So kind of coming up, this next candle could wick up a little bit higher, right? Are you looking for the continuation for the buy? Or the sell? Gotcha. I was like, before we go calling sells on this, I just really want to see what y'all to see that this is buying. This is massively, massively buying. across the board, it is a buying trend. So I'm going to keep going out until we see something a little bit clearer. It might take us a hot minute. So this is the weekly time frame. Most of us are not trading on this time frame. This is zoomed in awfully ugly, but we want to at least take a look. So let's see what we can see here. And our pending line there, still nothing super clear. If we look to the left, let's see what price point that is at. We're kind of sitting at an area of interest, which is 151.164, 151.164. We're sitting there, so we're really close to that area. I'm going to zoom back in. We've already kind of broken above that area. That's a full body weekly candle. We've already retested that. Weekly candle. Let's zoom in again. Wick to the downside. We've retested 50% of that. So to take any bit of a sell on this, whether or not it's ready, you have to know that it's a counter trend trade. So let's have to discuss that openly and fair and square. We've already looked at those other time frames, so let's go down to the 1 hour and take a look. So I'm going to zoom out. M formation, beautiful, perfect setup right here with the simplicity. We do pull back a little bit, but then we do move in the right direction. So the signal comes in here on this candle, which is 2000. What is that? Oh, I don't know, because daylight saving time is going to be a little off for the next few weeks. So this is what, midday New York, right? Somewhere around noon New York time, give or take, with the daylight savings change. So within a handful of hours, this in London session, well, that's kind of Asian Frankfurt crossover-ish, give or take, we're getting that breakout. So if you had a pending order, that's, 80 pips, 70 pips. And if you're only going for half of the ADR, which is what you guys know I kind of do quite often, especially on the 1 hour time frame, half of the day ADR, that hit no problem. I mean, you got your targets, you were in and out, stop loss above structure. But as for right now, we're wicking off of this area of interest. So 7 minutes left on this candle. For the continuation of the sell, gonna have to really want it. A lot of us traders, I know more than just myself, are waiting for some of these breakouts and these reversals. I know myself included, I'm a little hesitant to call any of them as actual trades or signals. And here's why. We just showed you the huge, enormous trend of the upside. So is this viably ready to kind of be a reversal? I don't know. We did make lower lows. So this is a lower low than here, right? So we did get our breakout. That is our impulse. This could be the correction for the continuation to the sell. So we have to kind of take that with a grain of salt. So now let's talk about when and how do we know to enter. 1 hour time frame, we have a signal, right? We're going to move up our pending order all the way up to here. Okay, I'm going to zoom in now to get a clearer picture. This is where that low kind of sits. Again, impulse moves, but we've got some wicks. We're wicking off of this zone. This is where price has stopped before. So now we're going to see if we get the continuation. If price closes below this candle, do you have a safe enough sell to enter for a little while? Let's see, that's 151.5. We'll just say 151.5, just enough to kind of sell back down. That's a potential 60, 70 pip profit. You'd be closing it at 40 pips. You'd be protecting it for sure at 40 pips. Like, there's no reason you should be up in 40 pips on this pair and not have protected or trimmed some of your profits. So that yellow EMA is the 200 or the 800? It's the 250, Devontae. So it's got the potential. It's not ready yet. It could line up over London. Otherwise, it would be a good thing to look at tomorrow morning. As for the breakout for the buy, if we were using kind of the trending strategy, you would already be in this buy. Even on the 1 hour, you would definitely be in it on other time frames already. So in terms of a trending strategy, you are late to the party. And the only way to get in now, at least the way I trade and the way I teach, would be a breakout entry. So you'd have a breakout entry once price kind of closes above this point, and that is... we'll say 151.7, 151.73, 151.72, anywhere in there. If price closes above that, same kind of concept, but less potential to the upside. You've got about a 40 pip, 50 pip, area of potential. So on this trade, if you did take the breakout buy, because remember, you're late in terms of a trending entry. You're already late for a trending entry. So don't tell yourself you're not. Don't, Brandon said he's in a buy because of my strategy. That makes more sense. I'm like, so if you're not already in, you're too late to go chasing it. Because if you were already in on the smaller time frames, you've already protected, you've closed some, you're a happy camper. If even on the 1 hour you're in, you're protected, you're a happy camper. But to right now take a buy, you'd have to wait for the break. So we said 15173, give or take. And again, 50 pip profit potential. So you'd be closing or protecting anywhere after 20, 25. So again, you're closing or protecting anywhere after 20, 25. Otherwise, for the sell, if price does kind of close below this current candle, which we said, again, price point was 15153, 1515, anywhere in that area, you'd be selling it down, protecting anywhere after 30, 40 pips. So that's my GBP JPY analysis with simplicity specifically. If you're adding a trending strategy to this, something like the golden strategy, you're going to be able to take both sides. And that's for better and for worse, right? You'll be able to really master the markets for reversals and for counter trend trades. The only part that's going to chew you up at that point is the consolidations. And I'm not the go-to for that. I wish I was, but I'm not. So Keisha said 30-minute call to buy. I don't really use 30 minutes. I know there are a couple people having a lot of success with 30-minute, Keisha. I'm not, but there you go. That's perfect. There's your buy. So talk about a potential entry. We got this signal here. And the next candles are making higher highs. So to me, on this strategy, that's a valid entry. But also pay attention to where your next level of structure is. Is that enough room for you to take this trade? That's 17-ish pips, 28 pips to what is that, the 61-ish retracement or the hot box, right? 55 pips. So on the Forex pair, 30-minute time frame, that's enough room technically. It's enough room to protect it. Can't argue that. But it's just, again, it's a little late. So that's kind of how I'm seeing that. I hope that kind of helps you see it a little bit. Potential in either direction. You've got some potential buy points and sell points, and then you have some targets as well and areas of protection. But I'm going to go to GU because somebody asked about GU, and I want to hit a couple of these pairs real quick. GU. You guys know that for the longest, and today, I'm still looking for that long-term potential in the buy. We needed to pull back. Now, granted, that is definitely a yearly kind of monthly kind of weekly kind of savings account strategy, where you're kind of letting this buy for a very, very long time, not necessarily worrying about the ebb and the flow. So if you're not looking at those massively huge time frames, let's go to the 1 hour. 1 hour kind of sold off, bounced around and played around. Of course, we're feeling to make lower lows. I'm going to pop up one more time frame. This is that kind of impulse move. This is your correction. We'd be looking for more of a continuation even to come test this area. So it has a lot of room. It's 150 pips. Let's see. 15, we already saw the 30. So this is giving us a sell arrow. Odds are the daily is giving us a sell arrow too.
And you were basing off that one major impulse move?
I'm sorry?
That one impulse move, you were basing it's going to be a continuation for a sell off that one major impulse move?
Well, let's take a look. So if y'all have been working with me, look, I'm waiting for this to buy long-term. Long-term, this I think has the potential for a long-term buy for a multitude of reasons. I'm not going to go over them all right now, but we've got multiple W formations. We've got some hard rejection off of these zones, and it has a pretty big amount of room to go up. Granted, this is a weekly time frame. So notice how we stopped here at this area of interest. We're waiting for kind of that pullback. Could it pull back all the way to the 250? Maybe, baby. Let's see. Maybe.
Hey, Miss Jenny.
Who's that?
Frankie. You think you can go over NAS 100?
I already did.
Oh, I apologize. I set my alarm to come to class, and I was out eating with family, and I was so upset. But it's all right. I'll be all right. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So the NAS, we talked about it. We were waiting for that. It made a couple more highs, and it's definitely, we got the impulse to the sells. If you're looking at kind of the golden strategy, go wait for another entry like on the 5 minutes. So right now you're hitting some consolidation. Let's let it pull up a little bit. Again, no guarantees, but if you get a 5-minute entry, take that. I'm in that, and I'm also in German 30 as well on the sell side. So I'm into both of those. I think the entries I had on US 30 this morning netted almost 5,000 pips. Now, granted, that was with 3 different entries, but that's what's possible. Like, and not every day is that smooth. Let's be honest. Some days suck, or there's no setups, or like it just sits flat, or you take a loss. But the entries we talked about this morning were pretty awesome. So if you're not in that, you know what you're looking for, you know what the targets were, go wait for that, the entry, and then go take it.
All
Danny?
right. Yeah, 'cause I was just wanting to see how the week's going with that. I was catching a lot of pips on that Monday last night and
Way to
stuff.
go.
So I just want to come and just check to see how you guys doing.
All right, awesome. Well, I'm glad that you're catching them pips, though.
Thank you.
You are welcome, and I hope you enjoyed your dinner with your family. I promise you that is way more important. This is recorded, and you guys hear me talk all the time. So,
Oh no, I'm gonna I know I've been wanting to come to class for a long time. I miss talking to you guys. I was I couldn't make it today.
oh yeah, we went on like 3 hours this morning talking about like risk management and like just amazing. The information and the camaraderie is just incredible. So I love that group. So.
Okay.
Okay, but real quick, Derek is making fun of me because I have an apple. Marvin, if I'm saying your name right, I love my apple. I do consider maybe I've got a really close friend who might help me redesign my office to, put all the different screens up and all that other good jazz. And I've got some ring lights and a camera now, so I'm gonna be going a little bit more all out here soon now that I'm finally set up. But having said that, I still like my enormous apple. It's just kind of beautiful. It's all clean, except for my too many pink sticky notes on my desk. I use that and I use a VPS. So they do have a really, really expensive Dell curved monitor that's very tempting. But the problem with having multiple monitors and Zoom, the blessing is it would help my privacy because Zoom doesn't really care about my privacy. If watch when I do this, it doesn't really it shows stuff that it should not be showing. Whereas if I had it on multiple screens, I could maybe control that, but I would have to show you guys less and less and less. So for you though, honestly, just use a really big monitor. I have anywhere from 4 to 6 brokers up at any given time, and they're enormous. They're still pretty big. So you know. Keisha, does simplicity always pull back before moving in the direction? No, it does not always anything. Nothing. So we learn this from our self-help books. We learn this from our therapists and our counselors and all of our preachers. One of the things in life is to never, well, look at me, go me. Never say never, never say always, never use those definitive words ever, including never. So always is never something to consider. The chart always never does anything. It never always does anything ever. Now that I just went through all that. But most of the time, yeah, I think so. Most of the time, it definitely pulls back depending on your settings. So whatever your settings are, that's going to be a different topic by far. What time do you think the best time to trade with the trend is? London and New York? If London went against it, I would be looking for the trend in New York. If New York went against it, I would be looking for the opposite in London, such and so forth. Devontae, what time? I'm about creating freedom. So a lot of people are going to tell you you'll never be a successful trader if you don't either move to London or become a zombie and just stay up for London session every day of your life. And that was very upsetting to me because I tried to learn how to trade by being awake for New York and awake for people's classes and then awake for London and, shoving food down my face while I'm trying to go upstairs and check the charts in Asian. And that is a recipe for not only disaster, but also failure. Because if you're always in front of your charts, you're effectively going to see nothing. So my advice to you, Devontae, is to not listen to me. It's to decide what your schedule is based off of your family, your job. Okay. Give yourself a couple of windows where you can almost guarantee that, hey, if I had a part-time job and I could be in front of my computer, this time every day pretty consistently, I'm going to test this out and then back test that for 2 to 3 weeks, see how effective it is. And then back test that for 2 or 3 and forward trade it for 2 or 3 weeks and see how it is. Asian isn't advisable, at least for me. So I'd be looking more toward like waking up earlier, catching New York, London crossover. I would be looking at late afternoon. You can do Asian, but you have to know what pairs you're trading. So Okay, so back to GU. We talked about this long-term time frame, going over kind of potential for the long-term buy. We don't have that buy yet. So we're looking for the potential all the way to kind of come back down and retest this area. So, and then I am going to get off. Let's see. 4-hour time frame, zooming in. We've got kind of our arrow. We've already came back up. We are starting to make lower lows and we're failing to make higher highs. So notice we kind of have this trend happening. If we drew a trend line here and a trend line here, we're officially not only in a channel, but notice how this channel is down, my friend. So you can decide to say, hey, I'm going to take this riskier entry here with not a lot of reason to go off of that just yet, or I'm going to wait for the break. And they have ups and downs, but you have some room to potentially sell even down to this kind of hot zone, only measuring from here to here. That's the rest of that Fibonacci move. That's what these zones are telling you, is these are basically Fibonacci boxes. So know that. And then let's see. So I'm looking for the sell on this, at least the short term. Can I get a couple pips out of that sell? It may have already played out, because even on the 1-hour time frame, notice how you're done with that sell. You're failing to make lower lows right now. You're done, and you don't have a reason to re-enter right now. At least not where price is currently at. You're kind of in the middle of the zone. 30-minute time frame, we've got a buy kind of happening. Could you buy up and stay within this consolidation box that's forming? Yeah. Is it enough for the risk involved? Let's measure from where price is up. That's a 60-ish, 70-ish, 80-ish. So you don't, this isn't even a 1-to-1 just to stay in the kind of zone that you're currently in. It's greater than a 1-to-1 if it's going to go and kind of make higher highs. But long term, I'm looking for the buys. I just don't have the buy that I want right now. So we're sitting above the 50, we're below the 250, double top forming, which brings me to the 15-minute time frame. So that's your kind of double M 15-minute time frame. Let's go take a look. M formation. If we break this neckline right here, you're looking for that short-term kind of scalp sell. And that would be right in line. So if we break that, that's 13885. That's 13885. You got a really short-term kind of nice little scalp. Go for your 10 to 15 pips and get out. Potential head and shoulders formation formed before you looked for a buy. But just how I'm seeing it based off of structure. So I wouldn't be taking this because you've already missed this. It's over. You don't have an entry right now on either system. And whether it's a scalping system, a trending system, or even the simplicity system, there's not an entry at this very second. So, but the things we wanted to go over, and the biggest reason for me saying, hey, I was a little excited about this, was some of the CAD pairs. So we're going to do that real quick, and then we're going to jump off. I usually don't go too long on these night calls. So let's take a look. 4-hour time frame. We know that all of the CAD pairs, and I'm going to zoom in, we'll zoom out, make it super ugly. Check this out. They all have dropped. Like, that's insane, right? We have not given any of this back. We have yet to kind of pull back. Nothing is happening here. I'm going to delete this because it's based off of a different pair. Like, that is an insane move. If I go to the weekly time frame, look at this. That's crazy. So I'm not saying that again, weekly time frame, this doesn't have the potential to continue selling for quite a bit of a ways, because it definitely does. And it could just be the year for that on the bigger time frame, kind of like we're saying on GU. But as for the right now, me and about everybody else who trades in certain systems is waiting for some of these CAD pairs to give us that pullback, because it has not done so. And this is an enormous move. So God, that's a lot of pips on a pair that does not move very fast. So huge time, I know, not very huge time frame, I know, not very relevant to what we're doing. Let's just go down to the 1 hour, kind of keep it consistent and stable. I come all the way here. Here we are. Last week we got these actually last week, but it wasn't ready yet. We knew it kind of had to pull back, and it did. So we did make a lower low, go figure. So we knocked out all the potential buyers already. We knocked them out once. We came back, made a lower low even from that. Came back again and knocked them out again. So you can see that price is kind of losing steam. It's not, doesn't have the same legs to push down potentially. So double bottom formation, definitely some divergence on multiple time frames is present on this. We're waiting for a buy. Now, do we have it at this very second? Absolutely not. We do not. You have to know that. So even on the 1 hour time frame, you're really wanting it to break the 50. Like, you want more confirmation. Even if you're not going off the break of the 50, you need to wait for the break of structure. You know, something like the Super EZ dots, right? The support and resistance dots, right? What is this called again? That's going to mess with me. I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night saying, oh, it's this. I'm going to totally forgot. I know it. I totally know it. But either way, anywhere around this zone, you're waiting for the break of that. And odds are by then the 50 will have been lower. If you get that, how much of a pullback can you expect? Well, we're not looking for the forever turnaround. Remember, even on the bigger time frames, this has some steam to go up. But that is not a bad trade whatsoever. That is like 1.25, 1.5 ATR trade, right? 1.5 give or take ADR trade. That's a really nice setup that we're seeing here. So that's what I'm waiting for on USD CAD. Let's go to NZD CAD and Euro CAD. I think those are the three that I really. USD JPY too. What is that pair doing? We looked at it this morning, but then it kept playing around. It's still playing around last time I looked. So without having to go to the super weekly time frame, same kind of concept. This is a huge move. This is not much of a pullback. It's like maybe a 21% retracement of this. Again, a huge move. We're looking for just a slightly steeper retracement. We're not necessarily saying this is going to forever start buying now just because it sold off. We're just looking for enough of the retracement to make this worth our time. So daily time frame, we kind of get a picture of what it's doing. Let's go up. Beautiful. Notice what's forming on the daily time frame. Weekly time frame, I just lied. That is not a bad setup at all. But we definitely want to take a look at this trend line here. Okay, this is a valid kind of trend that we're seeing. We're waiting for a retracement. We're waiting for it to either retrace this, retouch the potential trend line for the continuation of the sell, or to break back above it and continue in this kind of sideways trading channel that has kind of been slightly edging up on. Otherwise, we've got quite a few points where it is rejected down. If we continue to break past here, granted it's a huge time frame, we're looking on this to sell. So the yellow, this is like the hot zone. These are Fibonacci box, that's all. So this is the hot zone on the top and the hot zone on the bottom. So imagine if this was 100 and this was 0, this would be the 21, this would be the 60, 68. Kind of give you an idea specifically what those are. What's the green and the, I forget. The SR dots, Super EZ SR dots.
Daily dots.
Daily dots. It's got another name too. Now I can't even remember. So now I'm going to have to find out. I shouldn't probably do this. Super EZ SR. It's the Super EZ SR. So thank you, Mike. That's what those lines are. So they're coded differently. The daily dots are better by far than this. They adjust less, but same kind of concept. It's essentially support and resistance. So that's what I'm looking for, guys. On this pair, again, I'm going to go all the way down to the 1 hour time frame. We're going to go back over to current price. Huge move, kind of played around. Huge move. We stopped. Of course, we had to knock all those people out too, came back up, and now we're here. So we're kind of sitting flat. I am in no shape, way, or form calling this as a buy right now. We don't have a buy. We have an impulse move to the downside. But these are pairs that are going to be very, very awesome to trade, either as a re-entry, if you're watching it, okay, or as the reversal. So pay attention to these trades. Make sure you're watching what they're doing and wait for potential signals, because when we get this signal, even if we waited till we got that kind of confirmation anywhere in around here, that again is a 150 pip move. So that's a 2.2-ish, 2.18-ish ATR trade. That is a very high probability trade. And when you talk about risk to reward, which again, I do not trade with those levels of percentages per se, but your risk on gain, if I'm saying that properly, would be amazing. So you'd be in the hundreds of percent taking trades like the ones we're showing right now, these particular setups. And last but not least, did I go over NZD CAD? I don't think I did yet. It was NZD CAD. And UJ too. We talked about UJ this morning. So huge, again, beautiful. We can go all the way to the weekly, kind of take a look at what this is doing. This just dropped out of the sky. We're just waiting for this to kind of pull back a little bit. Not a forever trade. Let me come all the way up. Give you guys a prettier picture. This is kind of with the trend, which is unusual compared to the other ones we just looked at. But we were bouncing off the 50. We're waiting for kind of a retracement of this big, big move. So how many pips does that equal exactly? Let's go to the 1 hour. Zoom in. Let's see. We don't have an entry yet. A bare minimum, 89. I'm going for much more than that on this trade. I'm waiting for it to come all the way at least back up to here. If we do break this high, I'm coming all the way back up to anywhere in this zone. So quite a bit more pips on this. That's 210 pips. So you're almost looking at a 3 ATR trade or ADR trade. And that's a really, really good setup. Again, no guarantees. This would have to make a higher high on this one for that to happen. But it's also with the super higher time frame trend. So just a couple of pairs to look out for. Not to say that there's an entry right now, because there's not. We were hoping there was last week. Good thing we did not take or call any of those because it wasn't ready. And it's still just not ready. But it doesn't mean you can't once a day, which takes you 15 minutes, and once every couple of days, it takes you 30 minutes. Come take a look at some of these Forex pairs, go to the 1 hour time frame, go to simplicity, and see what you're seeing. If you're getting the setup and price is moving in the right direction, take that trade. Worst case, just protect it after half of the ADR. And you've got yourself a really good trading kind of system that you can kind of tweak as you go. So, is
Would you say would you say that price wants to test that wick at the bottom?
I'm sorry, can you rephrase your question?
Would you say that price would want to test that wick before it wants to buy? Or is that a wick? Oh no, it's not. All right. I can see you gotta zoom in.
So we gapped down, we came back up. This was at Sunday, right? I'm pretty sure, don't quote me. But we gapped down, came back. This is an interesting candle because notice how it pushed all the way down instantly. So open. No, it opened here. So this in itself is a gap. This price closed here. This is a bullish candle. This is actually a gap. If I go to the 30-minute time frame, we should be able to see it. Maybe. Nope, we don't see it. So look at this right here. Price closed here. This is the close of a bullish candle. This is the open of a bullish candle. So if it closed here and opened here, that means it gapped down this far. And it came back up and closed. It came back up, pushed down, whatever. It opened here, closed here. That's open, high, close, right? This, we're not calling an entry on this. We're calling a look at me. So we have to know the difference between things that were a signal we're taking. Like this is what we're taking. I'm in to win. I'm green. I'm golden, whatever. I'm trying to differentiate that in my morning classes a little bit more effectively. But this, we're not. Okay, Stacy, I muted you, girl. Sorry. I'm not sure if you were talking to me, but you had some background noise. So like, I'm not calling this as a buy just yet. I'm saying I'm on the lookout for this particular trade. So do I think it needs to come down and test that? Oh,
It's an interesting candle, like you said. It really is.
so there's the gap. You can see it present on this. This is the 15-minute time frame. We gap down pretty decent. I mean, on this pair, that's not a fast moving pair. That's a 13 pip gap. I mean, that doesn't seem like much, but look how clean that is. Just it's clean. It's perfect. What time did this happen? This happened at session crossover today. I wonder why. But I can have a few guesses as to why. But either way, I am definitely not the only person who is absolutely obsessed with all these CAD pairs, because every algo out there, every the quantitative kind of super genius and supercomputer people, the different technical analysis, every system that uses systems is flagging every one of these Canadian pairs, right? So because they're all flagged, I'm sure they're going to get extra attention and market potential manipulation, which we're not supposed to say that, and we're not supposed to believe that in theory, and we're supposed to be above that again in theory, but there's some validity to it. So the perception of these big moves, we can ignore that one for a second. Let's go to one more CAD pair. Let's go to GCAD. The perception alone has a value. So whether or not this stuff has moved insanely or not, or what the opinions are, or the actuality of any of it is, the move itself, the perception of it has a big value. So the moves we're getting ready to see a lot more of, it's going to be the perception that's going to move it first before the technical, actual value does, if that makes any sense. Did you kind of follow that?
Yeah. What are these moving averages you have?
250 and 250 EMA. Tammy, do you have a question, or is that Tommy? Hey, Tammy. I think you said something about the daily dot, so. Either way, I didn't hear you too well. Okay, guys, that's enough for tonight. Those are some of the trades I'm looking at. Some of them are just not ready. We went over a couple indices. We went over crypto. Not that that's an entry, but and of course a couple of forex pairs. So keep your eye on those moves. Don't go chasing a trade because you want one or because the 15-minute or the 30-minute or whatever says you should. What you really have to focus on first and foremost is what the bigger picture is telling you before you chase that baby time frame. So baby time frames are great when you comprehend the trend or when you're scalping with intention, but otherwise veer away from those and learn to look at the bigger picture, especially in these massively trending trades. So you'll notice this spring brought a lot of volume that we didn't see in 2020, and we didn't see it in 2019 either. The amount of volume that we're seeing right now, we haven't really seen for 18 months, 2 years, this steady of volume on this many different instruments at one time. So take that with a grain of salt and trade it accordingly and be a little bit careful and cautious, but still go get your bag and go get your money and all that good stuff. So I will answer a couple of questions in all the different chats because I didn't have let's see, do you have videos to watch that help you see the things the way you look for them? Yes. So Dina, we have, I don't know, I think it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours in the advanced membership group on Super EZ. There's a bajillion videos, and some of them are, maybe only 20 or 30 minutes. Most of them average an hour or two, but some of them are even just 3 hours of different levels of insight. And there's banter and there's just jokes and family kind of atmosphere. There's trades called, there's wins, there's losses. You'll see all of it. There's people who have been transparent enough to, share their results and what they've achieved. There's people who have showed their trades, and you can kind of learn from how they're doing things right and how they're doing them wrong. That's the biggest resource. And then in the actual Super EZ group, there's a Google Drive as well that has all the Tuesday night calls, which I think has 50 or 100 of them, averaging about an hour. And they go over everything from structure to, oh my gosh, I'm talking and I don't know what we're talking about, but we're talking anyways. And of course, simplicity and the tried and true how to grow, to six figures with the triple arrows and or simplicity, rules, how to create your own rules, what the rules are. They're all there. So start with those two. And if you need help finding that, I think Miss Donna can guide you in the right direction. Fair enough. Okay, I'm going to go over real quick to this screen. I can't see it. I have to have another screen up. So I'm going to go to the YouTube questions where it says, hey, Jenny, what do you think about risking 40 pips on a TP on the first May trade? Is 10 pips in the second could potentially be 40 pips. Plus you could also close with 2 pips and profit for the TP. I would need that drawn out in a diagram and probably more coffee to understand that question. So risking 40 pips to gain 10 for sure and let the other trade run. Twin trading. Okay. With a 50 trade sample size, do you think it's a good plan? Well, I can't pronounce your name and I don't want to butcher it. So to answer your question, don't listen to me. So whether or not I tell you it's great or somebody else tells you it's great, good or bad, doesn't matter. If you have this theory, go back and test it. So let's say you picked 3 or 4 pairs, go back and test that on the 3 or 4 pairs you plan on trading at the same time you plan on being available, right? Assuming you took every signal that you would if your rules for entry are met, let's say you would enter here, you'd enter here, you'd enter here, and go test that. Go back test it for 2 to 3 weeks. Prove your theory, right? Prove that it works. God, my girlfriend said something. I want to use it as a good analogy, but She's talking about putting somebody to a team building exercise, right? So same kind of concept. So do it as a building exercise to see, does this work? And then you're going to have this basket of information. And you're going to say, okay, I would have taken a total of 35 trades. My accuracy would be 60%. I would have netted a total of 500 pips if I did it this way, and then change something. So I'm sure you have an opinion of, oh my gosh, we all stay up at night with, well, what if I did this, or what if I did that? So take whatever your other what if is and say, okay, so if I had done it differently, so if I had only done a single trade with the bigger take profit, but I had maybe scaled out of that take profit or had closed a portion of it at this price point, my risk is this much, my reward is this much, and then go back and test that. And what you're going to find is one or two of those, approaches is going to give you the better net profitability. So the only piece of advice I will give you, because I won't answer whether I think that's great or not, it depends on how good your entries are. It is the short answer. But I will tell you, when you back test that for 2 to 3 weeks, pick whatever result has the best net profitability. So everybody wants to come to these charts and they want to say, hey, yo, I'm a 70% trader. I'm a 90% trader. My accuracy is blue pips, baby. Like it's all the way. It's up and down. I'm so good. Look at me. I should be a hedge fund manager. Yeah, I should be a public trader, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go be Pam and I'm going to do FOMTC. I'm going to be a billionaire. That sounds good and all fluffy, but you can still be a net losing trader with 90% accuracy. You can still be a losing, not profitable, break even trader with 80% accuracy. And you can still be a losing trader with 70% accuracy. So I didn't understand that until I understood that. Hold on, we've got some background noise. Let me go to participants. Mute. There you go. So once you understand that, you'll kind of have a really good foundation. So backtest your thought process, backtest your whatever your entry is. Because if your entries are amazing and you're at 90%, 95% accuracy, doing what you're saying to do is potentially profitable. But if your accuracy is, let's say, it's 60% accurate, what you're suggesting is not only going to be not profitable, it will definitely, your Z score would be through the roof. Your risk of ruin would be like 100%. And the odds of blowing an account would be, pretty much guaranteed if your accuracy or your net profitability is not insanely high. So another question was, so 50 trade sample size. We all have had that squirrel syndrome. Kenneth, I was born with that squirrel syndrome. I'm working on it though. Lord knows I am a work in progress every
Truth.
right? Nice job. Sorry.
Possible is it?
I'm just reading through these comments real quick. I want to make sure. Can you explain what the VPS does? A VPS is a virtual private server, and I joke that I'm not all that technically inclined. I'm pretty much as good as with electronics as I need to be. There are some people on here who are like, they were coders and they were geniuses or worked at Microsoft or did some other cool stuff. But in short, it just means it's a virtual operating system that's always online. That is the extent of my knowledge. So here's why I use it. I use EAs that I need always running. And that means I need my computer to shut off. I need my internet to be able to go in and out because of a hurricane. I need to be in Chicago for this cool event. They sent me the hotel details. I need to be there, right? I need to not be worried what's going on with my EAs, my bots, my money, my whatever. Even if my children were sucking up every ounce of Wi-Fi that my block has, I need to know that it's good, even if my computer was unplugged or fell asleep or rebooted or updated, because we all know computers do stuff like that. So I use it for the basic purpose of that and mostly that alone. However, it's also I use it because I use a Mac computer, and we all know that MT4s don't play well, don't play well with trading software at all, even the indicators. Can we get an MT4 version to work? Yep, we can. Most of us have, but we also know that Apple likes to come back in and save the day, which means the system is no longer there. You have to reboot all the templates, the codes, the passwords, the indicators, the files, and it is a nightmare. Whereas having everything I need on my VPS means every indicator I've ever owned is there, every file, template, password, it's all there. And if there's an issue, that expression, I've got people for that. Well, that is like priceless, guys. Having people for that is the best thing you can possibly say to 90% of life's problems. So if my VPSs or if my broker does dump out or have any kind of issue, my people for that We'll reboot the broker, they're contacted, they'll do what they've got to do. They'll even upload my templates and they'll figure out all of that stuff. So I can just call them and then they fix it for the most part. Great company. The link to that is in the YouTube video and it's in most of the chats if you're in the groups and stuff. So it's a great company. It's the best. So do you have any videos that only talk about trading management? Yes, there's a couple. There are a couple. I can see if I can't post them or just come on here when on my next live. However I pronounce your name, I don't want to butcher it. And we can kind of go over that and ask a little bit early on. Hopefully I'll have an assistant on here who can let me know your question before it's a bit late. And I will go over as much as I humanly can with you. In 2 Tuesdays from now, I'll be live again. But just subscribe or whatever, and you'll get notified every time I go live. So you'll get that warning too. And I think that's all the YouTube questions for right now. So I've got Kevin in the group who's got his hand raised, and then I'm legit getting off, y'all.
Hey, Jenny, thanks for having me. I just wanted to ask, just recently I started noticing on a Telegram, the Super EZ and Simplicity Telegram group, that they started noting like the scalp trade results. I know they weren't doing that at first. I know I was a part of it last year, but I ended up not staying due to like my scheduling and the type of work that I do is kind of complicated to try to trade. So I kind of took some time off. But I had noticed they started like posting the results. I mean, you guys started, I guess, placing trades and doing. I know it's always been kind of analyzing upon open and whatnot. You guys like take live trades now together?
So, in short, yes. We do call signals. I don't know. Can you guys just see this? You can't see the whole VPS, right? I'm not sure. Sorry, once I lose control. But in short, the answer is yes. So we are calling live trades. Now, I will say this in terms of the advanced membership group or any group, mine or anybody else's, your aim should not be to be a professional signal taker, right? Your aim should be to become a proficient trader. So we do take live trades. We've got a really good track record. So we started being able to kind of verify even with losses, because we do have like winning periods where, oh my gosh, we've had no losses and that's awesome. That feels good. But let's be honest, you cannot maintain that. So let's just keep it real for everybody involved. But again, not worrying about a loss, good or bad, worrying about the net profitability. The trades are awesome. Some of them are yielding thousands of pips. Some of them are only 100. The idea, like we talked about pretty heavily again this morning, was yes, we're going to call a couple of signals, but I'd like you guys to learn to see it. So like if we talked about UJ, for example, hold on. To clear my voice, I've been talking for a lot of hours today. Okay, so UJ, let's go here for a second. We're waiting on a sell or in a sell, depending on kind of where y'all are at. Of course, the lines didn't keep because once we click around, they're gone. But let's talk about this trade for a second. So what my hope is when we go over the strategy, there have been people, Kevin, who have stayed with us just as long as you were with us. And some of those people have made multiple six figures. Some of those people are quitting their jobs. Some of those people took a year to learn it and they failed a lot along the way. I'm just going to be honest, because it's not just Jenny telling you this is your entry, go get your pips and have a good day. It's not just Mr. Elvis's signal or Uncle P's signal, which statistically are good signals. So their net profitability on those signals are good. But there's so much that goes into that. There's timing, there's management, there's brokers, there's 1,000 other elements, right, that you have to kind of bear in mind. So if you're considering to be part of that group with your hectic schedule, the idea would be you're committing to learn, which means you're committing to stick with it until you are there. So that means whether or not you could come to the live class, you're going to listen to the recording. Whether or not you took the trade and won the pips, you're going to learn this strategy. And I don't care if you use my strategy with Ichimoku. I don't care if you use my strategy with Simplicity or with, Joe Blow down the streets, 5 candle formation doohickey. I don't care what you use it with, but use it in a way that you're going to do that for 6 months, for multiple batches of 50 trades, and keep tweaking it to the point where you can call me and say, girl, I just withdrew $10,000. Oh my gosh, I'm officially debt free. Oh my, I have 6 months saved for my job. We've got every testimony in the story, another book. Some people bought their mother a car, and it's beautiful and it feels good, but just know that the calls are doing great. Most of the people who are doing great, they're teachable. They're not complainers. They're not going to blame. Signals from me or anybody are only as good as your ability to see them. So don't take it if you can't see it. We do live signals, but you got to see it. You got to know how to manage it. Because, like, for example, we called, let's talk about something that's bad, not good for a second, because we always talk about good stuff. Let's talk about real. I try to do real as much as humanly possible. So let's go to the 5-minute time frame. We knew this morning we're getting that sell off. We said to enter here tonight, by the way. You would be in profit if you took this trade tonight. Hold on. I gotta show that. That's 100 pips up in profit from where we drew that at the beginning of this class. It's an hour and a half ago. It's almost at your first take profit just from tonight. But today, don't quote me exactly what time it was, Kevin. We talked about how this had the potential to buy up. I'm guessing, and golly, I don't even know. Let's try to find the accurate time so I'm not super wrong. 16:30, give or take. So anywhere in here. So we were waiting for this to kind of push up a little bit, and we knew that it would. We knew that it had room to push up, but we also know it had potential to the downside. But being able to guarantee which one of those is going to happen today, let's be honest, it doesn't happen. So we talked about this pair pretty heavily on what could happen if we got the buy, where some take profits could be, and what we'd want to see before we started to sell it. And the idea was that not only would you catch some of the pips from this trade, good, bad, and ugly, so that means win, lose, or draw, right? I want you guys to be able to get back in, or to be able to see, hey, we're not on right now. The market can't only move when Jenny's talking. It does move when Jenny's not talking. I know people who know me in real life think that's never, but I promise you, I do need to rest my voice. But all jokes aside, this, don't quote me exactly where we called this, only moved about 180 total pips in our direction. So give or take, I'm guessing it was on this trade. We came a little bit against us, not a lot, but it does go in our direction. So we talked about, hey, once you're up 150 pips, this is not a safe trade. This is not a great entry, because we're looking for some pips, and we had already got US 30. We got thousands on US 30, which was great, but this was not a perfect setup. It was just a potential setup. So we said, hey, once you're up 150 pips, 100 pips, you need to protect this trade. If you don't know what you're doing and you took this trade with us, this moves a total of 180. We'll round it down. We'll say it only moved 170. If you didn't protect it, look at what happens in your account. This is hard. This is bad, right? So you have to know how we're managing it, what we're doing, how we're trading, how we're seeing it. There's that. And then, of course, we use something called the ATM, which is currently in beta testing, kind of written by a quasi, we joked this morning and said nerd, but honestly, super genius. Like the coder, the guy who just thinks in the most systematic, honest to God, intelligent way. Like he decodes Jenny's human, my superhumanness, and puts it into like actual information. So you can hear the smile in my voice when I say kind of awesome. But this trade manager specifically, I think I have it on a naked chart that doesn't have my strategy. Let's find out. There we go. It looks something like this. So it's in beta testing right now. And this is Ichimoku. So bear with me, guys. This is a mess. We already know Ichimoku is a ugly system, but an effective one. So this trade manager, if you're not yet in that group, does everything. So it'll manage my trade based off of Ichimoku. It'll manage it based off of structure. It will trim me out of profit. And granted, this is really hard to see because, well, Ichimoku. But if I took this trade, these are not the actual settings I use. We were playing with them this morning in class. When I take a trade, guys, my stuff is taken care of. Like it's taken care of exceptionally well, not like half-buttedly, not like maybe baby, but all the way taken care of. And what I mean by that is if I take this trade, I'm going to be protected with a trailing stop that is set to my parameters. It could be Ichimoku. It could be a Danchin channel. It could be a moving average crossover. It could be the cloud. It could be fractals, parabolic SARs. It literally has, let's go to trailing stop. It has like a bajillion different options. So look right here. Like I'm going to be able to trail with everything under the sun, right? Everything. Things y'all probably don't even know about. Some of that stuff I can't even define well. Heikinashi step by step, which is kind of right? So it does everything. And then we also have an exit manager. So unlike a trailing stop has to just touch it, right? Which means that kind of stinks because sometimes it kind of wicks and then it goes in the right direction anyways. And that's just an awful situation. So I've got an exit manager that allows it to where if the price does not close on the other side of that spot, I'm still going to be in it. So I'm no longer chained to the same rules as other people because we're using amazing tools in all fairness. So sorry for the long-winded answer, but yes, we do signals, but understanding them is a U factor. Yes, we do signals, but the strategy, like we said very heavily this morning, is something that you guys have to learn to see to where you can see it, even with your own twists and tweaks in different parts. But then, of course, then there's management, because the best, most accurate strategy in the world is only as good as your rules and your management, period, across the board, no matter what. And our signals, we have now, I think, a couple of month track record, which is, it's an insane amount of tens of thousands of pips. We got a well over 12, 13,000 pips in the month of February. And that month barely had any volume, to give you an idea. Barely had any volume. That's with profitability, with several losing trades, to give you an idea. Not bad. Gandalf, if he wasn't.
Thanks for the answer. I noticed your voice is kind of going on us. I don't want to kind of push you or hold you any longer. I appreciate the answer, though.
No, yeah, I'm sorry. I talk. That's what I do. But thank you for looking out. I appreciate it, guys. Frankie's laughing and says net profit. Frankie, we can talk about net profitability next time if you'd like. I am done for now. But write it on your desk and then bring it up in your next class that you have me with, and I will go over it. And yes, Scott is definitely Gandalf by far. And other than that, a couple different potential setups. That's enough for tonight. I hope that this was.
Oh my God.
And I will talk to you guys soon.